The Ram 1500 Revolution pickup truck just debuted here at CES, and if the promised production version of this concept vehicle has half as many features, it will be one of the most innovative trucks ever built. So this truck is built on the Stella frame architecture, which is designed for full-size electric vehicles. As you can see, burly frame rails right here. The Ram 1500 Revolution will have traditional body-on-frame technology, just like old-school pickup trucks. So all-wheel drive is standard in this rig, courtesy of a couple of electric drive units, one up front and one at the back, of course. But in between those motors, we have the battery pack, nice and low, right where you want it. Ram says this will charge at up to 350 kilowatts. That's enough to get you 100 miles of driving range in just 10 minutes, which is pretty phenomenal. This battery also supports bi-directional charging, so it can feed juice into your house if there's a power outage. Great to have that. Moving rearward, as you can see, independent rear suspension, just like on the Ford F-150 Lightning. That will get you better ride and handling. Very nice to have in a pickup truck. And then, of course, this vehicle is also fitted with four-wheel steering. These back tires can turn up to 15 degrees for greatly enhanced maneuverability. The Ram 1500 Revolution should also be able to do, just like the GMC Hummer EV pickup, a sort of crab walk maneuver, although I don't think Ram has named that feature just yet. Let's take a closer look at this truck's exterior styling. Up front and prominent is the redesigned Ram word mark, which in this case, of course, is illuminated. It's also flanked by a pair of tuning fork-shaped LED lamps that look pretty sharp, I've got to say. Moving downward to the bumper, some very nice flush-mounted tow hooks. And of course, since there's no engine or transmission in this pickup, you get a generously sized front trunk. I don't have an official figure for the capacity of this storage space, though it does look slightly smaller than a Ford F-150 Lightnings. Though what you do not get in the Ford, of course, is a very versatile pass-through, which should just improve the hauling capabilities of this all-electric pickup truck. Moving along to the side, the concept here has massive 24-inch wheels. Now, I don't know about you, but that's way bigger than I would ever want on the street. But what are your thoughts? How big should wheels be? Leave us a comment down below. Moving along the side here, you can see another illuminated Ram badge on the front door. We've got flush-mounted door handles to improve the truck's aerodynamics, plus they look pretty sleek. Coming backwards here, bulging rear fenders. If you look at this pickup from a top-down view, it has almost an hourglass shape to it, which I think is pretty neat. And if we move to the back of the truck, we have Ram's very versatile and super clever multi-function tailgate, which of course is split down the middle for extra versatility. So just like other crew cab pickups on the road today, this concept has four doors. However, unlike anything you can buy on the market right now, these back doors are hinged at the rear, kind of like a mid-1960s Lincoln Continental. I love this feature. It looks so cool, but I'm doubtful it will ever make it into production. What's also missing here, there's no B-post. This is just a gigantic opening in the side of the cab, which reveals a very airy and cleanly styled interior. What do you think of that? There's also an innovative track system in the floor of this vehicle, which allows you to reconfigure the cabin for different modes of operation. The center console is removable, and then if you look, you can see we have 4 bucket seats in this vehicle, but behind the second row, there are actually a pair of jump seats. So this is a 3-row vehicle. So those jump seats actually mount to a mid-gate in the middle of the cab, which can fold down and allow you to haul cargo that's up to 18 feet long, dramatically improving the versatility of this pickup truck. But moving inside, right on the dashboard, you can see we've got a pair of screens, and these give you about 28 inches of digital real estate, and the lower panel is removable. You can actually use it like a tablet to control various pickup truck functions. As for the center console, it includes a couple of fold-out trays, a great place to do paperwork, or, just eat your lunch when you're out on the job site. The Ram 1500 Revolution concept, however, does not have a traditional instrument cluster. Instead, it has an augmented reality head-up display that projects important vehicle functions and information up onto the windscreen, so they're very easy to see. Now, Ram is saying this truck will also be fitted with Level 3 Plus autonomous driving capability, though we will have to see if that makes it into production. So Ram is claiming leadership in range, towing, payload, and charging time. So basically, when their all-electric pickup hits the market, they think it is going to be a best-in-class product. Now, unfortunately, I don't have any information to share about horsepower and torque or driving range, but the production version of the Ram 1500 Revolution will be unveiled within the next few months, and it should start to go on sale at some point in 2024, likely even before the Tesla Cybertruck. Sony and Honda are making waves here at CES. The company introduced a new vehicle brand as well as a concept car that previews a future production vehicle that could hit the road sooner than you might expect. Sony Honda Mobility introduced the new Afeela brand here at CES, and yes, the name has feel right in the middle because they really want to appeal to drivers' emotions. Now, beyond that, they also unveiled a concept car that I just mentioned a moment ago, though this vehicle does not have a model name, which is kind of curious. As for the styling, this car has a very clean exterior and a prominently curved roofline. And if you look closely, there's a dash of Hyundai Ioniq here, a sprinkle of Tesla there, and maybe even a bit of Lucid Air thrown in for good measure. Overall, the design doesn't break any new ground, but I've got to say it does look quite attractive here on the show floor. Up front, there is no grille. Instead, this car has something called a media bar, which is basically a screen that allows you to put pictures or text up and really customize the looks of this vehicle. As for size, the wheelbase is about 118 inches, which is actually about 7 inches longer than a Honda Accord's, while the body length overall is just about 193 inches, which is actually a touch shorter than an Accord's. So basically, this is like an all-electric midsize sedan. Inside, this concept's cabin is elegant and uncluttered. It has room for 5 people, and designers aimed to wrap occupants in a soft cocoon, and I can't argue with that, it sounds pretty great. Up on the dashboard, you can see there are nearly pillar-to-pillar screens, which of course is no surprise for a modern concept vehicle. And behind those displays, there's a human-machine interface with 5G cloud connectivity that will provide a range of services and entertainment options. And Sony Honda Mobility is actually working with Epic Games to deliver those goods. This car will also feature augmented reality navigation functionality, plus engineers are aiming to deliver level 3 autonomous driving capability in limited situations, as well as level 2 plus functionality in many more, including urban areas. So inside and out, this car features 45 different cameras and sensors. 45! And that's a crazy number, though they will give the vehicle 360-degree visibility. And of course, powering various advanced driver assistance technologies is Qualcomm's Snapdragon digital chassis chips. Beyond that, no powertrain information has really been shared about this vehicle, but I can tell you it will have 4-wheel independent suspension and should come standard with all-wheel drive. Sony Honda Mobility says a production version of this concept is in the works, and pre-orders should start in the first half of 2025, and then deliveries, at least for North America, will commence in the spring of 2026. Now, of course, it's still early days. I have no pricing information to share, though the car will be assembled in North America by Honda, which is great news because they've been building cars for a number of years now, and guess what? They're pretty good at it. We just ran across MissGoElectric here at CES 2023, and up next, we're going to talk about some of our favorite upcoming automotive technologies, so make sure you stick around for that. So, MissGoElectric, great to see you here in Las Vegas.
Yes, great to see you.
It's an exciting show because there's always so much going on.
There is, and more we're seeing a lot of electric mobility products, so I'm super excited about the days to come because there's a lot to offer here.
Yeah, so what are some of your favorite things that you've seen at the show?
Well,
so far?
My slogan at my channel is Drive, Fly, Ride, and I've done a lot of driving and a lot of riding on e-bikes and things of that nature this year, but I'm really excited to see more of the flying aspect.
Yes,
so
yes,
there's going to be some electric vertical takeoff and landing vehicles here. There are going to be some electric hydrofoil boats that I want to check out. So those are some of the things that I want to try to cover a little bit more while I'm here because those really spark my interest, and I think that they're just innovating and at the cutting edge, so I'm intrigued.
Yeah, flying cars, as it were, aren't really a thing. It's been a dream since forever, but maybe now in the 21st century we'll kind of get there with these vertical takeoff aircraft.
We're getting closer.
Yeah.
I saw an article come out today that Stellantis was investing in Archer Aviation, more money, $150 million, towards manufacturing their first eVTOL that's coming in 2024. And so that makes me think that, okay, we're inching closer and closer to these like regional electric transport options. So I'm so excited to see all of them that they have here at the show.
Hopefully more on the commercial side, because people tend to not drive too well, and I don't know how much I would trust them flying, you know.
Touche.
One technology I'm super excited about, it's not really here at the show, but I did a story on this a while back. It's about lithium-ion battery recycling. That's a major problem, as you well know, that once electric vehicles reach the end of their lives, what do you do with the batteries? Like, there's a lot of very expensive materials that go into those things, and do you just throw them in a landfill? Like, what do you do with them? Well, this company called Aqua Metals has figured out a way of basically reclaiming all of the materials from inside the battery, and that includes the lithium, which typically when you smelt the batteries down, just dissipates, it's gone, you lose it. But they figured out a way to do that with sort of an electrolytic process that they can extract all of that stuff out and reuse it again. And it's basically in its pure form, so it doesn't have to be refined or anything like that. So that's something I really look forward to seeing be expanded and developed in the future.
I mean, we've seen over the course of this past year so many investments in battery technology, and I think that's a good play on the second life, and also, you know, like you said, we don't want to see these materials just going in landfills when they can be reused. And especially
with the prices of things for lithium or cobalt or manganese or whatever.
Completely agree. And on that point, I think this year is going to be really exciting to see more charging infrastructure development of products with V2X technology, bidirectional capabilities. There are a lot at CES that are showcasing new products. So companies like ABB, Blink, SK is here. There's a lot of companies that are going to be not only in the charging infrastructure segment, but also deploying home stations that people can charge their EVs at home.
Yeah, the public charging network is a major issue. We've talked about that on EV Pulse. We've had some issues with a certain company when we go to do our charging tests. Which one could that be? It starts with an E and ends in an A, right?
Erica.
Yeah, right? But any investment that can be made in the public charging infrastructure, I am all for, because it's one thing to charge at home, which is great for probably 90% of the time for 90% of the people, but if you want to take a long drive and go somewhere, you need a better solution, and it doesn't exist. Yeah, and I am one of those people that are kind of on the abnormal side of things, where the majority of my miles are actually road trip miles. So you're an outlier then.
So it's really important for me to see the infrastructure be reliable. And we're going to see this year the NEVI deployment, the installation of those stations are going to start for 2023 after they get all those RFPs rolling. But I think it's going to be a big deal for talking about uptime and maintenance for this calendar year. So we'll see what they got at the show.
Absolutely. You just mentioned a moment ago V2X, and we literally today just shot another video about that. Qualcomm is working on pushing that forward. So we got sort of a demo of their vehicle to X, so basically vehicle to everything communication. So that is a major way of improving safety, because if your vehicle can communicate with intersections, with other cars and trucks on the roads, or pedestrians or cyclists, suddenly you can drive in a way that you can eliminate fatalities. I mean, that's the ultimate goal. And very interesting. We're not there yet. It's still probably a long way off, at least a few years, but important steps are being made. Absolutely.
And on the charging infrastructure note, wireless charging. We're seeing some people here display some wireless charging options. So, and I think that's going to be a really great technology to deploy in 2023 and beyond, because once we see more EV fleet, commercial trucks, things
that's
of that
where it really
nature,
pays off.
I think it'll really pay off, and it just needs to keep getting better and better, and we're right at the cusp.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing to pull into your garage or carport and not have to plug in. It's nice. I mean, plugging in is hardly the most difficult thing in the world to do. Right. But if you don't have to do it, it's one less pain point. But for fleet customers, like you said, you have your delivery or a livery service or whatever, and they're going to a depot every night. it could be a big game changer for them to not have to worry about that.
Exactly.
Yeah. One other technology that I'm interested in, I don't know if you heard the news, BMW is investing in a company, I think it's called Jetty Technologies, to reclaim copper from waste ore. Now that sounds kind of boring, but when you think about it, copper is so important. It goes in electric motors, it goes in wiring, not only in your home, but also in the infrastructure. It's hugely important. It's not as sexy as manganese or cobalt or whatever, but you need copper. And they found a way to extract that from a waste material that would normally just go unused.
That's fascinating.
So very cool stuff there.
And it's expensive. So
yes, copper is expensive. Yes, absolutely. So let's talk about some future vehicles. Volkswagen just unveiled the new ID.7, an electric sedan?
A sedan.
Who's going to buy that in the US? Nobody wants sedans anymore, right?
I think that's an interesting play because, you know, they had the ID Aero concept, and this is kind of the evolution of that in a pre-production phase, prototype style, but they're not really letting, as far as I know, people get inside this ID.7 at this show because it's still pretty early in the baking process. But it's been a few years since they've had that concept.
You'd think they'd be further along. But,
right,
yeah.
But maybe that's them thinking like maybe the US market, I don't know about this sedan.
Yeah.
I still think that there is room in the marketplace for an electric sedan. We see Model 3 doing pretty successful here. So competition with different brands and different body styles is always good in my opinion, but
will it be enough to beat the Ioniq 6, which is an eGMP car, which are arguably the best in the business right now? I have very high hopes for the Ioniq 6, and I don't know if Volkswagen can outdo that. We'll have to see. I'm not going to judge right now, but
I completely agree with you. I will have to say, just on the software side of things, VW has been getting a bad rap for a long time on that, and probably deserves to.
Their infotainment system is not great.
Right.
In the ID.4 at least.
I think just looking at that standpoint, because in the ID.7 announcement, they did reveal some improvements on their touchscreen, but it didn't seem like too much.
Yeah, I think it's a 15-inch screen on the dashboard, and then they specifically called out illuminated touch sliders for the climate control system, which is the biggest duh ever, but it's not offered. They don't have that in the ID.4, which is like, why? Why wouldn't you do that?
I think, like you said, Ioniq 6 is going to be hard to beat. That is the next major electric sedan in this market that is going to be super successful, in my opinion. They just got to get it out to more states.
Yes.
I live in Michigan. I want to buy a Hyundai electric car. Come on.
Yeah. Or the Genesis is lovely.
Beautiful. Love the
GV60.
GV60.
Love it. Also, we're expecting a Ram truck, an electric Ram truck. Can't say anything about it right now. We have not seen it. What's your take on that?
I'm super excited about this because I think that is a demographic that we need to get more people into the electric mobility movement.
Yeah.
So if Ram can bring something that is going to be competitive when it comes out, that's the key. There are already some electric
trucks.
Trucks.
The Lightning out already.
And the Rivian R1T. We're going to see the Silverado EV coming out this year. So there's already competition on the market that they need to bring out something that is specification-wise going to go head-to-head with these guys. So when it actually gets into production, will it be enough?
Yeah, we'll see. Well, it's a Ram, so chances are the interior will be pretty nice, and that's the last couple generations been one of their major selling points. So I have high hopes for them, at least in that area.
Yeah,
but we'll have to wait and see because we haven't seen the vehicle yet.
No, but I am excited about that.
Yeah.
More EV trucks, the better, in my opinion.
Yes, absolutely. Because like the Lightning is phenomenal.
Oh my God, I love
just an F-150 with some electric motors and a battery, but man, that thing drives well.
I
performs beautifully.
Absolutely love that truck. I spent a good portion of time driving 1,000 miles across the West in a review, and I fell in love. I was like, why didn't I put an order in for this? Dang it.
Now you gotta wait because you can't get one.
I know.
Or you pay through the nose if you find one at a dealer, right?
It's true, yeah. So I'm excited for more to be available on the market.
Okay. Anyway, MissGoElectric, thank you so much for chatting. I appreciate it so much.
Yeah.
Where can people find your work?
So you can find me on YouTube at youtube.com/MissGoElectric or on pretty much any social media platform, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all of that, and just at MissGoElectric.
French company Symbio has come up with a clever way of improving the longevity of fuel cells. We'll check that out at CES 2023. Everybody talks about electric vehicles, but fuel cells will also play a huge role in cleaning up our transportation in the coming years, especially in large vehicles like over-the-road trucks, because fuel cells scale up much better than batteries. Pushing this technology forward, French company Symbio, which is affiliated with Michelin and Faurecia, has unveiled a new fuel cell monitoring system. This tech can actually measure the voltage produced by each cell, and 2 plates form a cell. So if there's a problem, it can alert the driver through the vehicle's CAN bus system that, hey, something has gone wrong. Then you can actually disassemble the fuel cell itself, take out the offending cell, replace it, put everything back together, and hit the road again. Symbio tells me their fuel cells are designed to last for about 20,000 hours. It's kind of a nebulous figure, but that equates to roughly 1 million miles. Though if something does go wrong during that time frame, it is very nice to be able to service the fuel cell stack and know exactly which cell needs to be replaced. Now, interestingly, the plates that go into a fuel cell are coated in platinum, and it takes about as much platinum to build a fuel cell as it does an automotive catalytic converter. So as combustion vehicles are taken off the road, their catalysts get recycled, that platinum can go right into fuel cells. Giving you a more complete look at Symbio's products, this is their Stack Pack 75. It's a fuel cell unit that produces, predictably, 75 kilowatts of power. And as you can see, it's a fairly compact design, and this thing only weighs about 100 kilograms, or roughly 220 pounds. This unit is slated to enter production this year, though the company also has a Stack Pack 150 and a Stack Pack 300 with 150 and 300 kilowatts of output. Those are expected to enter production next year. So anyway, that is a very quick look at what Symbio is doing to green up our transportation future. Eliminating roadway fatalities is a major goal of governments, automakers, and supplier companies, and hell, if you walk on sidewalks or drive anywhere, you should be concerned about this as well. And one important technology that could make this goal a reality is something called Vehicle-to-Everything Communications, or V2X for short. Qualcomm and Commisgnia have been working together to develop V2X technology. We hopped on a specially equipped shuttle bus here at CES 2023 to experience this firsthand. Vehicle-to-everything communication is a technically challenging topic, though the name at least is perfectly descriptive. V2X means exactly what it says. In the not-too-distant future, your car or truck may have the ability to seamlessly communicate with other vehicles, intersections, cyclists, and even pedestrians. By having an interconnected web of roadway users, you can dramatically improve safety for all parties involved. One important thing V2X communication can do is warn you when a traffic light is about to change, so you can accelerate or stop to avoid running a red light and potentially causing a crash, but that is not all.
You can also do other things right at intersections. You can, if you're an emergency vehicle, you can make that red light green by doing a preemption. You can do a priority request if you're a bus, but safety is job one, but there are ancillary things that you could do to enhance mobility. We showed in the demo that you can do awareness of a pedestrian crossing, say a mid-block crossing. In the longer run, you want to have each of these devices on a bicycle or pedestrian. That's a bigger lift to get location accuracy and other types of technical things, to include the fact that we only have a limited spectrum. You can't have every road user talking at once.
And those are perhaps the two biggest hurdles holding back the widespread adoption of V2X communication. For this technology to really work as envisioned, every car, truck, bus, bicycle, pedestrian, and intersection needs to be fitted with some sort of transmitting hardware so they can all share information. That won't be easy, and it probably won't be cheap. And then there's the issue of getting all stakeholders involved on the same page.
Well, there's some regulatory headwinds. We're close to overcoming them, but basically we need the FCC to grant waivers to the joint waiver applicants, which are many-fold through all sectors of the transportation industry, and then an FCC final rule. Once you do that, things open up, that you have more and more stakeholders who are willing to deploy. So a coalition of the willing has actually petitioned the FCC, and the idea is to grow a larger coalition.
Once that happens, it's hoped V2X communication will finally start to take off so crashes can be prevented and lives saved. Eliminating the risk of injury or death is the #1 concern here, but this technology offers plenty of other benefits as well.
The applications start to compound based on what you can think, because you can do, for example, if you understood the signal state, you can adjust the speed of your vehicle and start doing some mobility and emissions benefits by having a constant throttle rather than stopping and starting. Another one is you can do road weather information to provide the vehicle with enough information that you would understand, for example, how slippery the road is. There are tolling applications which start to get into mobility, right? And so you can do this electronic tolling exchange someday, disrupting perhaps the toll tag industry or maybe enhancing it with longer range.
V2X communication could be a revolutionary technology that makes our roadways a lot safer. Now, it is something we've heard about for a number of years now, and unfortunately, it's still not quite ready for prime time because, again, government agencies need to get their act together, and then we need a critical mass of this stuff out in the real world before it can really become effective. You've got to install hardware in vehicles, municipalities have to get involved, and of course fleet operators and pedestrians too. So we're not quite there yet, but eventually, someday, vehicle-to-everything communication could make our roadways far safer than they are today. Harbinger is a startup vehicle manufacturer. They're based in Los Angeles, California, and they were founded in 2021. They're building a flexible, all-electric commercial vehicle platform for the medium-duty market, and we're going to check it out here at CES. It's pretty interesting stuff. Harbinger is focusing solely on the medium-duty segment from Class 4 to about Class 7 with weight ratings from 16,000 up to 29,500 pounds. And they feel this is a market that is underserved, which is why they are going after it. This chassis will be offered with 4 different wheelbase lengths from 158 inches up to 208 inches. Similarly, 4 battery capacities are going to be on the menu, 70 kilowatt hours on the low end, up to 175 kilowatt hours with 35 kilowatt hour increments in between. And in a Class 5 application, they're estimating those batteries will get you between 85 and up to 205 miles of range. So pretty decent numbers. Now, longevity and durability are critical for medium-duty applications, and they have built that right into this chassis. And as you can see, these C-channel frame rails are absolutely huge, and the gauge of steel is super thick. So they're targeting a 15 to 20-year service life with these vehicles and 450,000 miles. Now, while we're at the rear of this chassis, I've got to point out the suspension design. It's actually an old school configuration, something called a Didion tube that was popular in the early 1900s, and that provides an important benefit in this application because it eliminates a lot of unsprung mass. You're mounting the motor and the gearbox directly to the frame rather than suspending those from the springs. That improves ride and handling, plus it provides a couple other benefits. They've eliminated the hypoid gear set, so there's a lot less friction in here. Plus, there's no need for a prop shaft, so they've got a lot more space for batteries. And just to be clear, Harbinger is only building the chassis. They're going to work with an established network of upfitters and bodybuilders that will provide the vehicle, the actual top hat that sits on the frame. Anyway, speaking of the chassis, it is motivated by this assembly right here. This includes a permanent magnet electric motor that is oil-cooled, and that provides 470 horsepower and more than 1,100 pound-feet of torque. Now, this assembly, which was developed by Harbinger engineers done in-house, also incorporates the reduction gear set we talked about a little bit earlier. Surprisingly, the Harbinger chassis is also fitted with an independent front suspension, which is something you basically never see on medium-duty trucks, and it should provide dramatically improved ride and handling, which is great news for drivers that are in these big vehicles for many hours every day. Additionally, there is steer-by-wire with a variable ratio setup, so basically at low speeds, you can go lock to lock in about 1 turn, and then of course it loosens up significantly when you're out on the highway at higher speeds, so you don't sneeze and then change over 6 lanes. That would be bad. So Chrissy here is one of the main development engineers at Harbinger, and she's behind the wheel right now. And this van feels incredibly maneuverable for something this gigantic and a little bit rattly, so forgive all of the noise. The steering ratio is super quick, which makes this vehicle feel a lot nimbler and more manageable than you might ever expect for a medium-duty vehicle. Also, there's that independent front suspension, which we don't have big bumps in this parking lot. Here, there are no ruts or anything like that, potholes, but it does seem to ride quite smoothly for what it is. All right, she's accelerating. The van moves quite well when she gets on the pedal there, and we're doing 51, 54, 55 kilometers per hour right now, so north of 30 miles an hour, and it is a bit noisy in here. I hope you can hear me okay. But the van feels very smooth for something this big and, of course, this rugged. Remember, they're targeting a 15 to 20-year lifespan with this vehicle, 450,000 miles. It's built to last. It's very heavy duty, yet it still seems pretty comfortable. Unfortunately, I have no official pricing information to share, but Harbinger tells me there will be zero acquisition premium for their product compared to conventional combustion-powered medium-duty chassis. As for availability, the first vehicles will start arriving in customer hands in 2023, production will ramp up in 24, and then of course it will really hit its stride in 25. We found 5 future technologies that improve electric vehicle range, and they are coming your way next. For car buyers considering an EV, range is always a nagging problem, but many companies are working to solve this issue, and here's the first innovative technology we found at CES 2023. Okay, I found something that is amazing. I think you guys are really going to like this. It's by a company called Betterfrost Technologies, and they have figured out a way of completely de-icing a vehicle's windshield in 1 minute at minus 20 degrees Celsius or minus 4 Fahrenheit. It is absolutely remarkable how this works. And it saves a lot of energy as well. So what they do is basically take power from an electric vehicle's battery, they send it through a small control unit like this. That then is plumbed into the vehicle's windshield that has a conductive coating in between the glass layers. And they send a high voltage pulse through that layer, and it breaks the bond of the ice to the outside of the glass, and it all basically sloughs off, completely clears the windshield in about 1 minute. Way faster, 20 times faster than having a resistive heater blow hot air on the back of the glass. It also uses 20 times less energy. They're saying about 1.8 kilowatt hours of juice opposed to 40 if you had a resistive heater blowing on the glass, and that can get you about 20 miles of EV range, which is exactly what you want in cold weather. Okay, so unfortunately this next technology is not on display here at CES, but I do think it is still worth mentioning. German supplier company ZF has actually developed, and bear with me now, they've developed a heated seatbelt, as crazy as that sounds. So what they've done, they've embedded a conductive material inside the belt itself. It doesn't really change the thickness or the feel of the belt, but it does draw about 70 watts of power and can heat up to between maybe 36 and 40 degrees Celsius to really warm you up on a cold day, like a nice bear hug. So they can retrofit this to existing vehicles, should be pretty easy to install, and I imagine it's fairly low cost as well. But here's the benefit. When used in conjunction with a heated steering wheel and a heated seat, they are saying they can improve electric vehicle range by up to 15%. That's a big number, and I am a little bit doubtful, but anything that can be done to improve electric vehicle range in cold weather is very important in my book, and that improves the range, of course, because you don't have to run the heater as much. Now, heated seat belts are not available at the moment, but I do imagine OEMs are very interested in this technology. So what we have here is AAM's 3-in-1 electric drive unit, or EDU for short, and what they've done, they've combined the inverter, the motor and the reduction gearing all into one housing that's smaller, lighter, and up to 10% more efficient, which of course is nothing to sneeze at. So how did they achieve that? Well, they did a number of things. For one, all of the internals are oil cooled. They've got an electric pump to circulate the oil, and then they run it through a spin-on filter. I love this feature. If any debris builds up in there, the filter's going to catch it, improve the longevity of the entire assembly. Additionally, they have a high-speed electric motor. This motor here is a little bit less massive than traditional electric motors, but it spins at up to 24,000 RPM. And aside from reducing the mass of the rotor, they have a twin lay shaft design in here, which eliminates any loading on the bearings and allows them to spin everything a lot faster. So that's great news. Now, this EDU is not currently in the market, but they're projecting it will arrive in vehicles around about 2024, so it should be coming. They project this would be used in vehicles like a Jaguar I-Pace, maybe a BMW 3 or 5 Series, or perhaps even mid-size trucks. And of course, a couple different outputs will be offered. They've got one with 100 kilowatts of output. This one should be 200 kilowatts. That's about 268 horsepower. So one way to increase the range of an electric vehicle is to install a more energy-dense battery pack, and a Dutch company called LeydenJar has actually come up with a way of making lithium-ion batteries that are 70% more energy dense, and that is obviously a huge number, and in fact, they won, as you can see, a CES Innovation Award, so I'm not lying to you. This is very important news, what they have developed. So what's the story here? Well, LeydenJar does not actually make battery cells. What they have developed are new anodes. So this is an ultra-thin anode. It is a copper substrate, very thin sheet of copper that's covered in silicon instead of graphite. Silicon is much better for the environment, and it is readily available because it's basically sand. So traditional anodes are about the thickness of a human hair. This one is 10 times thinner, the thickness of a red blood cell. So that allows them to stack many more anodes inside a battery to get that 70% greater energy density. Their batteries also charge extremely quickly. In automotive applications, they're saying they'll be able to hit 60% in just 6 minutes, which is huge. That's, I mean, you plug in, you've got more than 50% range in less time than it takes to fill a gas car up. Very important. Now, this is not on the roads right now, but understandably, automakers are interested, including BMW, and they expect this technology to hit the roadways probably by the end of the decade. As for cost, once it is scaled up, they project it will be comparable to today's lithium-ion batteries, or maybe even more affordable. So that is a win-win. All right, so the last item on our list might be a little bit tenuous, perhaps a touch too futuristic, but I gotta tell you, this is super cool, and I really wanted to include it in our video here. So this is the Smart Tire Company. They're actually developing airless tires, and they're using basically a design that is inspired by the tires that would have been used on the lunar rover or the Mars rovers. So instead of air in the tires, they're using a special shape memory alloy metal, basically a nickel titanium blend that kind of acts like a spring. It's really cool stuff. So to demonstrate the capability of that shape memory alloy I just mentioned, they have this little demonstration board set up. So you can see we have a very thin piece of wire. It's probably difficult to see on camera. It's attached to a board and a handle. So basically what this allows you to do is set the board on the ground, you stand on the board, you pull the handle, and you can see just how much that wire stretches. It feels like I'm pulling on a spring, yet there are no coils in the wire at all. It is perfectly straight. This material has a 6% strain, which means it can elongate by up to 6%, and it will still bounce back. Obviously, the Smart Tire Company wants to break into the automotive, trucking, and aerospace industries. In fact, they aim to have an automotive tire out in the market in about a year or so, but they are not there yet. Currently, they're testing their products on bicycles or other micro-mobility applications. And this bike here is fitted with their tires. And just so you can get an idea of how that shape memory alloy works, it's arranged in the tire like this, kind of running around the rim. You might be able to see a little bit of it in there. but this is a much better demonstration. This tire right here is actually the equivalent of 100 PSI, and if I press on it, it's really stiff, but it will yield under pressure, as you can see right there. So how are these tires more efficient? Well, I've been told they have fewer hysteretic losses and less rolling resistance, which is key to improving vehicle efficiency, whether you drive a truck or an electric car. Chevy is celebrating the iconic Corvette sports car's 70th birthday in a big way. We will take an up-close look at the new hybrid-powered E-Ray model right after this. So here we are at the Chicago Auto Show. Now, it did debut a few weeks ago, but we have not seen the car in person yet, and we figured you'd be interested. So here it is, the new Corvette E-Ray. This car features a hybridized drivetrain to improve performance and efficiency. So in a way, it sort of acknowledges this nameplate's rich heritage while still looking forward. This right here is the car's heart and soul. It is a naturally aspirated 6.2-liter small block V8, just the way the good Lord intended. You can't have a Corvette without a V8 engine, and this should be a very good one. Now, all on its own, this 2-valve pushrod engine, as you can see, gives you 495 horsepower and 470 pound-feet of torque. Excellent numbers to be certain. This engine is matched to an 8-speed dual-clutch automatic transmission that sends all of those kibbles and bits to the car's rear tires. But beyond that, the E-Ray is also fitted with a front-mounted electric motor. That, of course, gives you all-wheel drive for better performance in all conditions. But it also nets an additional 160 horsepower and 125 pounds of torque for a total of 655 ponies, which is a whole lot of horsepower to be certain. Now, beyond that, the E-Ray features a 1.9 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery pack that stores and releases energy as needed to improve both performance and efficiency. But interestingly, engineers also fitted this car with a lithium-ion battery for the 12-volt electrical system, because don't forget, the power windows, the seats, the mirrors, all of that runs off of the legacy 12-volt system. But by going with a lithium-ion battery pack, they're able to make that smaller and lighter to, again, improve performance. Just to be clear, this car is a hybrid, not a plug-in, so there's no way to recharge it. The E-Ray, however, does offer something called stealth mode, which allows you to run solely off electricity for very short distances at very light loads and at speeds up to 45 miles per hour. Anyway, what does all of that cutting-edge drivetrain technology actually get you? Well, how about 0 to 60 in just 2.5 seconds and the quarter mile in 10.5 seconds at 130 miles per hour? Those are some absolutely staggering figures. And helping you rein in all of that speed, the E-Ray does come standard with massive Brembo carbon ceramic brakes. It also has magnetic ride control 4.0 with 3 different settings, so you can have the car stiff when you want it, open track days, and soft when you need it, when you're taking your mother-in-law to her podiatrist's appointment. This car also has staggered wheels, 21s at the back and 20s up front. Those rollers also feature a twisted spoke design that should be unique to the E-Ray. They will also be offered in some 4 different finishes. Beyond that, the car will be available with up to 14 different paint colors, a few of which should be new, of course, for 2024. And beyond that, the E-Ray is some 3.6 inches wider than a standard Corvette Stingray, both for a more planted stance and likely to accommodate those big, meaty tires. So the E-Ray introduces a new green interior color that will be available in all Corvettes for 2024. It looks pretty snazzy. Beyond that, this car will have plenty of options in the cabin. 2 different carbon fiber appearance packages, 3 different seat designs, and some 7 interior colors, so plenty to choose from in this car. They also slightly redesigned some of the buttons on the center console for a more integrated appearance. So when can you get one of these cars, and how much is it going to cost? Well, the 2024 Chevrolet Corvette E-Ray should go on sale later this year. The 1LZ Coupe will start at about $105,000, while the 1LZ Convertible, of course, is going to be a little bit pricier than that, kicking off at roughly $112,000. Toyota just unveiled the new 2024 Grand Highlander SUV on the eve of the Chicago Auto Show, and here's why this vehicle is such a big deal. literally. Okay, so this grandest of Highlanders should be an amazing road trip vehicle for families, but before I tell you why, let's talk very briefly about the styling, which up front you can see is very different. The standard Highlander's front end is much more rounded than this. This is very chiseled and brings to mind the Sequoia or, of course, the smaller RAV4, and I do really like what they've done here. But as for features, the Grand Highlander comes with 13 cup holders, up to 7 USB Type-C ports. Of course, you can get a wireless charging pad to keep your phone fully juiced at all times. There's an available 1500 watt power outlet, and then Platinum models, get this, both the first and second row seats are available with heating and cooling, which is awesome. So this should be a great vehicle for families if you want to go on a road trip. But the biggest, most significant improvement made to the Grand Highlander over the standard Highlander is the third row seat. You guys have got to check this out. So this right here is the big news with the Grand Highlander. We've got nearly 6 inches of additional legroom compared to a standard Highlander. It's about 2.5 inches wider back here as well, so it's much more hospitable for adult passengers, life-sized adults. If you've ever sat in the third row of the standard Highlander, you're basically like this, your knees are at your chin. It's not comfortable, although I could be very comfortable and happy back here for hours at a stretch. It is vastly superior than the standard Highlander. They've also added some USB ports, some great cup holders and storage cubbies, and there's even a nice grab handle here to make it easier to get into the third row, because as you get older, of course, as I'm slowly starting to learn, you get frail, and these will be very nice to have. So how did Toyota add so much more room to the third row? Well, the Grand Highlander's wheelbase has been extended by about 4 inches to 116 inches, and they've made the vehicle overall about 6.5 inches longer. So that's where the room came from. But it's not just the third row. Toyota says that behind this third row, you can get up to 7 pieces of carry-on sized luggage, which is quite a lot of luggage, I'll tell you. If you fold these 2 rows down, you get 98 cubic feet of room, which is about comparable to a Chevy Traverse, though it is more than what you get in a Ford Explorer, Honda Pilot, or Hyundai Palisade. So, just like other Toyotas, the new Grand Highlander comes with a 12.3-inch touchscreen on the dashboard. It's crisp and colorful, plus it supports dual Bluetooth capability, and it has wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. So, what's under the hood? Well, 3 different powertrains are going to be offered. There's a base 2.4-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine that should be good for 265 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque. Of course, Toyota is famed for its hybrids, and they're going to offer a system in this vehicle built around a 2.5-liter 4-cylinder engine, a very familiar system, and that should get you about 243 horsepower. Stepping up from there, the top dog offering is the Hybrid Max system, which is built around that 2.4-liter turbo engine I mentioned a moment ago, but it throws in more hardware and electric motors. That gets you 362 horsepower and 400 pounds of torque. Now that is enough to get this vehicle from 0 to 60 in just 6.3 seconds, and you can tow up to 5,000 pounds. Now the first 2 powertrains I mentioned are available with either front or all-wheel drive, but the Hybrid Max, that only comes with 4-corner traction. Keeping you and your kiddies safe, this vehicle comes standard with Toyota Safety Sense 3.0, which is the automaker's suite of advanced driver assistance technologies. And of course, that includes things like adaptive cruise control, lane keeping assist, automatic high beams, and a whole bunch more. Though I'm not sure why I'm kneeling at the rear tire to talk about that stuff, but here we are. The 2024 Toyota Grand Highlander will be offered in 3 different trim levels. There's XLE, Limited, and Platinum. As for pricing and availability information, unfortunately, I don't have anything to share, though Toyota should release those details in the summertime. Hyundai just unveiled a new subscription service for electric vehicles, and you have got to hear about this. This product is called Evolve Plus, as you can see on the LED board right over there, and it was unveiled here at the 2023 Chicago Auto Show. Now, this product is tailor-made for motorists that want to drive the latest and greatest electric vehicles, but are not interested in any long-term commitments. So Evolve Plus is a month-to-month subscription service, and you sign up for it on your smartphone, Android or Apple, and then you pick the vehicle up from your local dealership. The pricing is very upfront, no haggling, no negotiating, nothing like that. The base price is $699 per month, and that gets you a Hyundai Kona Electric. Stepping up to the next tier, you can get a lovely Ioniq 5, like I'm sitting in right now, and that is priced at $899 per month. Both of those figures are pretty steep for what you're getting. These are not luxury cars, even though they are very nice. However, those figures do include things like insurance, maintenance, registration fees, and of course, roadside assistance. Naturally, there are a few hoops to jump through if you want to sign up for this service. You've got to be at least 25 years old. You have to submit 3 years of driving record so they know you're not a crazy person out on the road. Of course, you need a valid U.S. driver's license. You need a credit score of at least 650, and then of course you do have to pay by credit card. Now beyond that, there's that 1,000 mile per month cap. If you exceed that, it's $20 per 100 miles up to 1,500 miles, and then beyond that, gets pretty expensive because it's $1 per mile. So if you drive a lot, be warned. However, the good news is there are no long-term commitments with this program, and you can cancel at any time. Evolve Plus is offered at select dealerships in 6 U.S. states, and Hyundai is looking to add more by the end of the year. Hyundai Evolve Plus is perfect for drivers that want to experience an electric vehicle but aren't quite ready to jump in with both feet. It could be ideal for older folks, college students, people that work remotely, or maybe even you. I mean, I don't know you, but you should consider this product. It seems pretty cool. All right, you guys had a lot to say about the Ram Revolution concept in the comments section of our first look video from CES. Now today, we're gonna learn a whole lot more about this vehicle's interior because I am talking to the man that actually designed it. All right, this is Ryan Nagodi. He is the Chief Interior Designer at Ram Trucks, and he's the man that's largely responsible for the excellent cabins that we find in these pickup trucks. And I wanted to ask you about what we've got on display here in the Revolution concept. Number one question I've got, how close to a production interior is this? Because the design is really pretty reasonable.
Yeah, this is the Ram Revolution 1500 concept. I mean, it is a concept, so it's meant to evoke, 10, 15 years out in the future. But I think for us, there's a lot of cues, there's a lot of design cues that hopefully, even when you look at it, might feel, there's some similarities to some of our current, Ram trucks that are out there. But I think there's just a cleanliness about it. It really was a clean sheet of paper for us. So I think you get a good blend. You get a blend of some stuff in the future, but also feeling appropriate for today's market too.
Absolutely, it's very sleek, and I would love to see this out on the road. Talk to me about these rear hinge doors here. We don't have a B post. Is that feasible for production? Because we do see like extended cab trucks.
We do see some of that stuff. Yeah. And that's some of the things we toy with. I think for a concept, it's great to open up. I mean, I love from an interior design perspective, not having this massive B pillar in the way. You can just get in there and see a lot of, there's a lot of benefits of just loading cargo in and out. That's one of the benefits of the truck. We have this rail system. You can push the seats out of the way. So there's some challenges, but we love the appearance of the saloon style doors.
And it makes it very easy for us to shoot because it's so open, the doors open so wide. Talk to me about the rails in the floor. What do these do, and might we see that in production?
So this is our Ram Track rail system. They're powered. They allow the seats, the center console, everything to move fore and aft. You can actually take the seats out. In certain settings, you could actually turn the seats around and click them back in. And it's just a really handy situation where maybe okay, I'm only hauling a few people, but I want to haul some more goods. I can pull the seats out, and that's kind of a really nice feel. We also have the tracks in the bed of the truck as well, same tracks, so you can actually, say, for instance, remove the center console, put it in the bed for tailgating. So there's a lot of, flexibility is the key.
Is that enabled by the battery electric platform, or?
Very much so. I think the ability for us to be a clean sheet of paper, we have our Stella frame architecture underneath, but really from that era, it was all ground up. We could kind of rethink the cabin. So it's a big benefit.
And you can hold, what is it, 18-foot lengths of material, because you've got a mid-gate,
we have a
and
mid-gate,
then there's a pass-through up front.
And there's a pass-through up front. So with the front close and the tailgate close, you can hold 18 feet of cargo, which is kind of a neat thing.
That's a long piece of building material.
It's a long piece of building material, and it just gives the flexibility. Maybe if the mid-gate's up, you could still put stuff in the front here. So there's just, again, a lot of flexibility with the space.
Absolutely. Third row of seats in this truck, that's not something we really see in the market. Talk to me about the inspiration for that, and again, is that something that's production feasible?
I think there's a lot of feasibility with it, and for us, rethinking the space, we lengthened the vehicle by about 4 inches, and we gave some of that to the cabin. We pushed the cabin forward a little bit. That really opened up, we have in the market today a mega cab, which has about 8 inches of space behind that rear seat. And for us, it was like, well, let's blend kind of both worlds here. Let's take our crew cab, make it a little bit bigger. We have this really functional mid-gate, but then the idea of these jump seats, we were, kind of looking. I was actually at some sporting events with my child, and just the amount of people bringing loose stadium seats to watch games was intense. And I think one of the things with that is where are you putting that? You're throwing that around in the bed and some other. And so the idea of actually putting them on the midgate, use them as jump seats, but the ability to take them off, the midgate is kind of neat. They're something that's pretty manageable in terms of storage space, not taking a lot up. And then when they're in the midgate, there's actually storage hooks and some other functional aspects. So it's kind of a nice blend, and it's something that hopefully people find functional, and you can then, in this situation, haul 6 people.
That's an awesome thing to have. Even if the third row is just for kids, it can still be super useful. Did the increase in the cabin size, did that come at the expense of bed volume? Or
no,
is that
we have our standard like 5'7" bed that's in our crew cabs.
Yeah.
So we're not giving anything up there. The exterior team did a really good job of also adding flexibility to that bed space. So there's a lot of other configurable things that actually end up using the space, I think, better, right?
Absolutely. With a lot of modern vehicles, there's a focus on eco-friendly materials. What are you guys doing in that department?
Yeah, we took to heart the sustainability piece, some really fresh and new materials. So one of them is our apple leather. So on the gray areas of the seat, the upper portion, the upper areas of the door panels, it's actually a byproduct from the apple waste industry. And it's amazing, the feel, the touch. You're not giving anything up, but now it's sustainable, which is a really cool thing. We also have some other materials. We have this mesh insert on the seats, on the instrument panel, and the jump seats. It's actually made from recycled water bottles. So again, just looking for every opportunity. We're also making sure that the materials feel like they can withstand, kind of the abuse that the truck,
they've got to be rugged.
They got to be rugged, right? Yeah. But I think it's a really nice thing. We also do some cool stuff. We actually have this nano slate gray stone veneer throughout the entire cabin. Just thinking about stone inside of an interior space is kind of
maybe not a lightweighting solution, but
it is a veneer. So we're doing a recycle. We have a recycled substrate underneath it.
Okay.
So that gives us the ability of lightweighting that area there, being eco-conscious, eco-friendly. You also notice we don't have traditional carpet on the flooring surfaces. Even the whole lower area of the door, a little bit more of this rugged feel. That same rubberized material is actually throughout the entire frunk as well as the bed of the truck.
I like that for cleanability.
Yeah, easy to clean.
Because trucks get dirty.
Very much so.
The apple leather, this stuff feels amazing. I mean, it sounds cheesy.
No, but it's
but
got
it
a really
actually
nice
feels
hand
like
to
leather.
It feels like leather. Yeah, it's been neat to find these materials. Our color and trim group is so awesome with just looking outside of our industry, looking for things like that really could find a way into the products of the future.
Absolutely. Is this going to be durable enough? Is this something we would see in a production vehicle?
Oh, I think we could. I think we could.
I
don't know if it's necessarily ready right this minute, but I think the more that we can do things, show them in concept vehicles like this, gives the opportunity to kind of make some of these niche manufacturers that are doing stuff like this, like give them a chance to spread their wings, and I think the more that we can do that, the better.
Let's talk about screens. You've got a couple big ones in here. Yeah. And the lower one is removable, right?
The lower one's removable. That whole center display area is about 28 inches of screen space. There's actually 3 modes of the screen. So we're kind of in mode 2, I would say. The bottom screen can actually lift up and go underneath the upper one. That gives us kind of mode 1. And then the 2 screens can actually go flush with each other. And I think flexibility is key with some of the screens, amount of information, I think sometimes there's like screen overload, right?
I was just going to ask about that.
Yeah, so I think one of the things you're going to notice with the truck is actually there's no cluster. There's no traditional cluster sitting in front. We're actually using a head-up display, so a full VR, like half of the windscreen display, and then obviously our radio screen. So we're kind of trying to balance the amount of information. You'll notice there's some digital screens in the A-pillars to take the place of traditional exterior mounted screens. Yeah. That aids in efficiency of aerodynamics on the exterior. It also gives a little bit more command of the road feel. We also have digital screens up in the upper area as well for second row for controlling all the creature comforts as well.
I like the screens on the A-pillar because full-size trucks ain't getting any smaller.
No, and I think the
mirrors
ability,
and screens are a good thing.
Yeah, the ability to try to use technology in a way to help you tow, haul. Mm-hmm. Obviously, some people are intimidated by driving a full-size truck, and obviously more of these types of safety features, technology will obviously help that.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'm a bit of a Luddite myself, so I don't necessarily want a vehicle with the most screen real estate. Do you see customers sort of losing interest in screens at all?
There's a balance. I think when you go too heavy, I know people feel, okay, what happens if something breaks? I want to have that redundancy, and I think we have a good formula in our current products of trying to just leave a little bit of the physicality there with also some digital. So I think we're seeing that push and pull. That's the beauty of doing a concept vehicle. Get people's take on all right, do they feel that this is enough, right? How do I feel about not having a cluster in front of me?
Mm-hmm.
So I think
or many physical controls. It seems like You've gone away from dials and switches here, but this is a concept.
Yeah, we have pushed that boundary, I would say. We have some physical controls. But the ability to also reconfigure some of that stuff is what was important for us in this piece. That updates, over-the-air updates, and the ability to flash vehicles and actually give you more features down the line, obviously a little harder to do when you got a lot of physical buttons.
Yeah. Anyway, fascinating stuff. I can't wait to experience the production version of this truck, hopefully sooner than later.
We're excited.
You should be, because I think you've got a winner here, and of course a lot of benefits with electrification in the full-size pickup market. Now this is what I absolutely love, a more back-to-basics pickup. In this video we will check out the all-electric Chevy Silverado EV to see what this thing offers in base work truck trim, a version people might actually be able to afford. My dad drives trucks, usually a Chevy or GMC, but what he always gets is the most basic model. An 8-foot bed, regular cab, rear-wheel drive, V6 engine, crank windows, zero frills. So I've sort of been conditioned to believe that's what a pickup is, a tool, not a toy. When I see $80,000 plus rigs with fancy leather and screens everywhere, I kind of laugh because to me that's not a truck. It's also why I'm super excited to see the new Silverado EV in base work truck trim, because it's a tool, not a toy. And this is actually our first time seeing this rig in the flesh right here at Work Truck Week in Indianapolis. So initially this vehicle will be offered in 2 different trims. There's RST First Edition, and then later on the work truck model. And just like the Ford F-150 Lightning, the Silverado EV will only be available with a crew cab body, so if you wanted that regular cab and an 8-foot bed, I'm sorry, you're going to be out of luck. Now of course there are a few important visual differences between these 2 trims. Up front you can see a black plastic grille on the work truck model. We also have black plastic cladding along the side of the pickup truck. We have alloy wheels here that should be smaller than on the RST First Edition, though later on the work truck version will be offered with steelies, which of course I absolutely love. Moving rearward, we have black mirror caps. Opening the door, this is a very early pre-production model. As you can see, there's no texture on the plastics, but expect the interior to be a little bit lower rent in the work truck model. Of course, there's no glass roof, and we also have a smaller gauge cluster and an 11-inch infotainment screen opposed to a 17-incher that comes in the RST First Edition. Up next, we'll talk about the Silverado EV's performance, but first, this. Wireless charging is a game changer for electric vehicle fleets. Not only is it far more convenient than plugging in, it can also save big bucks. With no physical plugs to wear out or accidentally get run over, Witricity's cable-free charging reduces maintenance costs. Plus, you can set things up to charge your vehicles immediately or even wait until utility rates are at their lowest. Learn how Witricity can make life easier and save you money. Just scan the on-screen QR code or click the link in the description box below. Well, that's better. So the 2024 Chevy Silverado EV work truck is expected to offer a GM estimated 400 miles of range on a single charge. Obviously, that is way better than the F-150 Lightning, which tops out at just 320. This pickup will also be a DC fast charging champion. Expect 350 kilowatts of charging capability. Again, way more than the Lightning, which maxes out at just about 150. This pickup will offer 510 horsepower and 615 pound-feet of torque. Plenty of performance, numbers that enable a maximum payload of 1,200 pounds and a tow rating of 8,000 pounds, though GM does say a future version of this truck will be able to tow up to 20,000 pounds, which is a crazy number, and I don't know how far you'll actually be able to drag a trailer that weighs that much, but it's still pretty cool that this thing can handle that much weight. As for hauling, this truck has a 5-foot 11-inch bed, and the frunk I was just sitting in, well, that clocks in at 10.7 cubic feet, a little bit less than the Lightning's Mega Power frunk, which measures 14.1 cubic feet. Now, if you want all the fancy features, you're going to have to get the RST First Edition because that gets you an adaptive air suspension system, 4-wheel steering, enhanced Super Cruise that allows you to tow, which is amazing, and then, of course, it also comes with a mid-gate, and when you fold that down, it increases the length of cargo that you can haul to more than 10 feet, so really increases the versatility of this pickup truck. But is it worth it? Well, I'm not so sure because the RST First Edition is going to cost around $107,000, including delivery fees, which is a whole lot of money. The work truck version, however, will be much more affordable. GM is targeting a base price of around $42,000, including delivery fees, which of course is much more reasonable, though we will see if they can hit that price point once this truck goes on sale, which should be about the middle of the year. It seems like practically every automaker and supplier is developing some sort of electric skateboard chassis. They all look practically the same, though one company called Automotive has come up with an ingenious design that is radically different. First things first, a quick overview. Automotive was founded about 10 years ago and it's headquartered in Tel Aviv, Israel, though they also have an engineering and production center in the UK, as well as another facility that just went up in Austin, Texas. is focused on building all-electric skateboard chassis for Class 1 to Class 6 commercial vehicles. Basically, other companies will handle making the bodies that go on top of these chassis, though they will offer one cutaway vehicle, their P7 box truck. Basically, what they want to do is sort of be the Intel Inside, if you will, of the electric commercial vehicle market. Now this right here is what sets the company's chassis apart from others. This is the corner module, and basically what they've done is they've pushed everything out to the very edges of the vehicle to improve interior space. And they tell me that compared to a comparable combustion-powered vehicle, this design can increase interior volume by 20 to 30%, which is absolutely huge. And what you can see is they've packaged everything right into this corner module. That includes the braking system, the suspension. Around here we've got the control unit. There's the electric drive motor, and then the steering system. It's all packaged right here. And of course, there is redundancy baked right into this design. They have double motors for the steering system. They have extra microcontrollers, and of course, all of the software is backed up as well. Now, as you might imagine, there is no physical connection between the steering wheel and pedals and the recorner. All of that is handled electronically. Also, they decided to go with a traditional drive motor mounted directly to the chassis here instead of a hub motor that would be out here. And they did that because apparently hub motors do have some durability issues, and of course they add undesirable unsprung mass, which you always want to minimize if you can. But what happens if there's a problem with a recorner? Okay, maintenance and damage. If you break a steering actuator or bend a control arm, the system is smart enough to compensate, so you can probably finish your delivery route, assuming you are driving a commercial van. If something more catastrophic happens, the system can also compensate enough to the point where you'll be able to drive off to the shoulder or maybe even pull into a parking lot where it's much safer. Preventative maintenance is baked right into this technology as well. If there's an issue with, say, System A, it's smart enough to know that there might be problems with System B, C, and D down the road, so it can alert fleet managers to nip problems in the bud. If repairs are needed, there are no spare parts for the recorner. Basically, what you do is replace the entire unit. Believe it or not, it only takes about 20 minutes to unbolt one of these and install a new one, and then it's roughly 40 minutes or so to bleed the brakes and do all of the necessary software checks. But even if you have a catastrophic failure out in the field, you can be up and running again in just about an hour. Interestingly, each recorner is symmetrical, so this unit can be installed at any quadrant of the vehicle and it will work perfectly fine. Damaged recorners will also be sent out to be rebuilt or refurbished as necessary, just like you would a starter or alternator today. Unfortunately, you can't buy a recorner-equipped vehicle just yet, but production is expected to get underway in the second half of 2023. Now, the company will have the ability to assemble about 10,000 of these vehicles at its facility in the UK, running at one shift, though vehicles for North America should be sourced from the company's factory in Austin, Texas. Yeah, you can plug a power drill into your Ford F-150 Lightning, but can you run a 240-volt welder? Probably not. However, a company called Viatec has developed a family of eco-friendly power products that can do that and a whole lot more. So this right here is the company's range of clean power products. Right here we have the Smart APU, which stands for Auxiliary Power Unit. This is the Smart PTO, Power Takeoff, and then of course we have the Smart PX, which represents export power. Now, broadly speaking, all three of these systems are similar, and they can almost completely eliminate tailpipe emissions on job sites, which is very important, though there are some significant differences between each of these units. In simple terms, all of these allow you to run vehicle accessories or power other tools without having to run a separate generator or idle the engine, which of course is going to burn a whole lot of fuel. These units also feature lithium-ion batteries of the NMC chemistry, and they can level 2 charge just like an electric vehicle. Starting on the small end, you can think of the Smart APU as sort of like a battery bank. This features an inverter, so it provides 12-volt DC power as well as 120-volt AC. So that allows you to keep a vehicle's battery fully charged while you're running accessories like charging your laptop or the air conditioning. But you can also power tools as well, which is pretty nice to have. All right, next up is the Smart PTO, and yes, this system can also keep a vehicle's electrical system fully charged while you're using accessories, but the big draw here is that this unit is also fitted with an electrically driven hydraulic pump, which allows it to power large vehicle accessories like, say, a boom arm that would go on top of a truck, and of course it can do that without burning any fuel or producing any local emissions. And finally, we have the Smart PX, and this is basically a battery pack and an electrically driven generator in one unit. But wait, why a generator? Well, they're using that in place of an inverter. It's a lower cost solution, and it provides cleaner power, a true sine wave form, which is ideal for demanding loads or sensitive equipment. Now, this will put out 12 volts of DC juice, but it also does 120 and 240 volt AC, so you can run practically everything. Welders, rooftop AC units, concrete saws, you name it. These Viatec products are offered with varying battery sizes so they can meet different requirements and price points, and to date I'm told they've got about 150 of these units in service in various global markets. This right here is the new Mercedes-Benz eSprinter. And how do I know that? Well, it says so right down here on the front license plate. But I mean, it is also plugged in. Anyway, we're getting our first in-person look at this all-electric commercial van right here at Work Truck Week in Indianapolis. Slowly but surely, electric vans are catching on. Ford has had great success with its E-Transit, and undoubtedly Mercedes-Benz wants to get in on some of that action in North America with the new eSprinter. So this vehicle will be offered in the US and Canada as a cargo variant with a very high roof, as you can see, and that will get you about 488 cubic feet of luggage capacity and a gross vehicle weight of about 4¼ tons, which is 8,500 pounds. In North America, we will also get the largest battery the automaker offers. This is a 113 kilowatt hour pack that uses a lithium iron phosphate chemistry, and that should provide better performance in cold weather, although it is not quite as energy dense as other chemistries that are out there. For reference, the Ford E-Transit's battery also only clocks in at about 68 kilowatt hours, so I suspect the eSprinter will have a bit more range once it is officially rated by the US EPA. Motivation will be provided by a permanent magnet electric motor driving the rear wheels. Now, this dynamo should be offered in two different outputs, 100 kilowatts, which is about 134 horsepower, and 150 kilowatts, which is 201 ponies. Either way, you get 295 pound-feet of torque. Okay, so range and charging performance. Unfortunately, I don't have any US specs to share, but the new eSprinter should offer 400 kilometers, about 249 miles of range on the generous WLTP testing cycle, or 500 kilometers, about 311 miles of range on the WLTP city cycle, though I will caution you those figures are almost guaranteed to go down, and probably pretty significantly. But even if this thing only offered, let's say, 200 miles of range, it will still be far ahead of the Ford E-Transit, which tops out right now at just 126 miles on a charge. Of course, this vehicle can AC or DC fast charge. The former tops out at 9.6 kilowatts and the latter 115 kilowatts. Now, while you're DC fast charging, this thing should be able to go from 10% to 80% in about 42 minutes, which is not all that great for a passenger vehicle, but keep in mind this is a commercial van and DC fast charging is likely not as important because these things will drive on pretty regular routes and then they're going to return to a depot every night where they will most likely level 2 charge so the battery is full in the morning. So the new Mercedes-Benz eSprinter will ultimately be assembled in 3 different factories, 1 in Charleston, South Carolina, and then 2 in Germany, Ludwigsfelde and Dusseldorf. Now, this vehicle is slated to go on sale in the US and Canada in the second half of 2023, though unfortunately, I do not have any pricing info to share right now. Ford Pro, the Blue Oval automaker's commercial vehicle division, made a couple big announcements here at Work Truck Week, including a massive expansion of its commercial vehicle service network. Oh, and they unveiled this too. So here's what's shaken with Ford Pro. They're working to make commercial vehicle service far easier for fleet customers, and the E-Transit has hit a few very important milestones. So far this van has been on sale in the US, Canada, and Europe for a full year, and in the US through December of 2022, they've delivered some 6,500 of these, a pretty impressive number. Ford also claims this is the top-selling electric van in the US, Canada, and even in Europe. And of course, they're adding a 3rd shift at their factory in Kansas City to pump out even more of these things. To date, customers in just the US and Canada have driven E-Transit some 12 million miles, which has saved around 745,000 gallons of gasoline that would otherwise have been burned in conventional transits like this one. They have also saved around 4.3 million kilograms, or roughly 9.5 million pounds of CO2 tailpipe emissions, so hooray for electrification. At Work Truck Week, Ford also publicly debuted this. It is a school bus version of the E-Transit, and according to the automaker, this should be the only fully electric van provided by a full-line automaker that is available with a Type A school bus package. And kids are sure to love it, though Maybe they aren't. I mean, I hated school, but whatever. Ford is making life much easier for fleet operators. They're adding 120 dedicated service centers across the U.S. These Ford Pro Elite commercial service centers must have at least 24 large service bays that will be able to accommodate Class 1 to Class 7 vehicles. They'll be able to work on electric or combustion-powered trucks and vans, Ford vehicles, or even products from competitors, so super flexible. These hubs must also be open for at least 72 hours per week, at least 6 days per week, to improve their service times and, of course, help fleet managers keep their vehicles up and running. Now, to date, Ford has opened one such facility in Minnesota back in January, though 2 more are expected to come online within the next 60 days or so. So that's the news Ford made here at Work Truck Week. They're improving commercial vehicle service, the E-Transit is doing very well, and of course they're introducing a school bus version of that all-electric van. Remember Karma Automotive? Yeah, they sort of rose from the ashes of Fisker a number of years ago, and they do build the GS6 luxury sedan. Anyway, back in 2020, they launched a new commercial business unit that's designed to help customers electrify, well, decidedly non-luxury vehicles. So this is a Ford E450 Cutaway that features a second-generation Karma electric drivetrain, and they're really leveraging their manufacturing and engineering expertise to help commercial customers go electric, and this should really help fleets save money and, of course, go green. For added flexibility, Karma can retrofit new vehicles or repower existing ones, and surprisingly, I've been told there's strong demand for the latter option because various supply chain bottlenecks have actually constrained the availability of new commercial vehicles. Currently, the only vehicle Karma is repowering is the Ford E450 because it is so immensely popular. It's used for airport shuttles, school buses, ambulances, you name it. However, the company is working on adapting this drivetrain to the comparable Chevy Express 4500, so that should be an option in the not-too-distant future. Anyway, as it sits, this right here has a gross vehicle weight rating of 14,500 pounds and a maximum wheelbase of 176 inches. Karma's second-generation all-electric commercial drivetrain is designed to be flexible and modular. In this application, it has a 120 kilowatt-hour lithium iron phosphate battery that should get you a range of 130 miles. The top speed for this beast is 70 miles an hour, so no, it's probably not going to win any races, but the performance should actually be pretty good because it has 302 horsepower and 1,140 pound-feet of torque. Aside from fuel savings and zero tailpipe emissions, fleet managers are sure to appreciate Karma's warranty. The drivetrain is guaranteed for 5 years or 60,000 miles, while the battery is covered for 5 years or 240,000 miles. So that should be some pretty good commercial-grade coverage. So that is a very quick look at what Powered by Karma is working on. Now obviously they are far from the only company that is retrofitting and electrifying commercial vehicles, but that is something that will become extremely important in the coming years, so I think they will be very well positioned. The Hyundai Kona crossover lineup has been completely redesigned for 2024, and that, of course, includes the spunky all-electric version. The Kona has always been an adventurous-looking little crossover, and as you can see, that continues with the new model. Along the sides, these flanks are super angular, kind of like what you get on the Hyundai Tucson. But moving to the front, it is super sleek, and I really love this pixelated lighting element they have running the whole width of the vehicle. And this design somehow manages to look both futuristic and like it was designed in the 1980s, and I don't know how they achieved that. So this vehicle is built on a platform that was designed to be electric first. They did not take a combustion-powered vehicle and then convert it to be an EV, so that should give the new Kona some significant advantages. Now, size-wise, this thing is about 6 inches longer than its predecessor. The wheelbase has been lengthened by roughly 2.3 inches, and overall the vehicle is about 1 inch wider than before. Now for a few technical details, the standard battery is 48.6 kilowatt hours, which should get you about 197 miles of range, which is okay, though of course a much larger 64.8 kilowatt hour pack is available, and that ought to be good for 260 miles on a charge, which of course is way better. As for DC fast charging performance, the new Kona should be able to go from 10 to 80% in about 43 minutes, which once again is okay, though this crossover does offer battery preconditioning, which should dramatically improve both performance and range in cold weather, which is fantastic news. Both of those electron reservoirs help power the front wheel. Now the smaller battery pack gets you 133 horsepower, though the larger one, that gets you 201 ponies, but either way, you're going to have the same 188 pound-feet of torque. Now, the new Kona Electric also supports V2L, that's vehicle-to-load functionality, so you can actually use the vehicle to power other accessories and appliances, which is great. The new Kona also features Hyundai's iPedal one-pedal driving mode, which works very well in other electric vehicles, and I'm glad to see that they've added that here. Of course, if you don't want a fully electric version, the Kona is offered with a couple gasoline engines. The base one is a 2-liter 4-cylinder, though the N-line version of this car does come with a 1.6 turbo. Not surprisingly, the Kona has a brand new interior, and I've got to say it looks and feels pretty fantastic. We have a pair of 12.3-inch screens right here on the dash, plus a lovely storage cubby right here. They also made the front backrests about 30% thinner to improve rear seat legroom. As for cargo space, you get about 25.5 cubic feet with the rear backrest up, but if you drop that down, the number increases to just shy of 64 cubes. There's lots of great new tech inside the Kona. It now supports over-the-air software updates so it can add new features and improve functionality over time. This vehicle also supports a special digital key that allows you to lock, unlock, and drive the vehicle using your smartphone so you don't have to carry a bulky fob around. That will be very nice. And of course, there's all kinds of advanced driver assistance technology that's offered in this vehicle. The usual suspects like blind spot monitoring, adaptive cruise control with stop and go capability, a 360-degree camera system, and a whole lot more. So that is a very quick look at the updated 2024 Hyundai Kona Electric, and I think this is a fantastic update to an already solid vehicle. Combustion-powered models should start arriving at dealerships in the summer, but the electric won't show up until later in the fall. The next chapter in Kia's ongoing electrification story has arrived. We are getting our first in-person look at the new EV9 SUV right here at the New York Auto Show. This is the first 3-row electric SUV from the South Korean brand. So basically, think of it sort of as like a battery-powered Telluride. Now, the EV9 is based on the award-winning eGMP architecture, just like the Kia EV6, Hyundai Ioniq 5 and Ioniq 6, as well as the Genesis GV60. And that just goes to show you how versatile this platform is, because it can support smaller vehicles, luxury models, and now even 3-row SUVs. A few powertrain options will be available in this vehicle. There's a base 76.1 kilowatt hour battery pack that can be paired with a rear-mounted 215 horsepower electric motor. Naturally, a larger battery is on the menu as well, a 99.8 kilowatt hour pack that should be able to get you 300 miles of range with a single rear motor, though it can also be paired with a torque vectoring all-wheel drive system where you should get about 379 horsepower, 516 pound-feet of torque, and a 0 to 60 time of 5 seconds flat. It's pretty quick for a family hauler. Naturally, those battery packs feature an 800-volt electrical architecture, which should allow the EV9 to DC fast charge at up to 230 kilowatts, which can take you from a 10% state of charge to 80% in just about 25 minutes. Now, this vehicle also has V2L capability, that's vehicle to load, which allows you to power other accessories and appliances from the EV9, and in fact, they have a lovely household outlet right in the cargo area. So, overall, this vehicle is about 197.4 inches long, which makes it slightly lengthier than a Kia Telluride, though the wheelbase here is nearly 8 inches greater, so you should get shorter overhangs at the front and the rear for a more stylish look. As for cargo space, you get about 20 cubic feet behind the third row here, though if you fold the third and second row backrests down, you get nearly 82 cubes of cargo space. So overall, the EV9 here looks a lot like the concept that debuted back at the Los Angeles Auto Show in 2021. Up front here we have what's called the Tiger Face front end, which is sort of a reinterpretation of the Kia brand's signature Tiger Nose grille that has been out for a number of years at this point. We also have very slim lighting elements for a unique signature. There's a star map light up grille, which is very cool. You can actually customize how these lights come on and the patterns they make, which I really love. Wheels span between 19 and 21 inches, so you've got some nice choice there. And of course, Kia will offer a GT line version of the EV9 for a sportier look if that's the way you want to go. And of course, overall, I would not describe this SUV as gorgeous, but I do think it is very handsome. Wow, this interior is amazing, from the design to the layout to the materials. I am super impressed, but really, you know, I shouldn't be surprised because both Hyundai and Kia are absolutely killing it these days in so many different ways. Anyway, the EV9 here does come standard with a tri-zone HVAC system. You can also get a nifty digital key that allows you to use a smart device to lock, unlock, and drive the EV9 all without having to carry a fob around. And you can of course also get Highway Driving Assist 2, which is a lovely version of advanced adaptive cruise control. Just like the much smaller Kia Niro, this cabin is BTX free, so the paints and plastics contain no benzene, toluene, or xylene, basically all of your favorite zenes. Beyond that, the floor mats and fabrics are made of recycled materials. You can get a 14-speaker Meridian sound system, and then of course the EV9 comes with all kinds of different advanced driver assistance technologies. You know, the usual suspects I always mention. You can get a 360-degree camera system, there's automatic high beams, lane keeping assist, and a whole lot more. Well, no surprises here. The EV9's second row seats are very supportive and super comfortable. Plus, they power adjust, which is kind of rare, and I absolutely love it. Additionally, at the push of a button, they will power tip and slide forward, so you can have easier access to this vehicle's third row, though you gotta be patient because as you can see, this process, well, it's kind of slow. Anyway, let's check out the third row. It's pretty comfortable, plenty of headroom. I'm 6 foot tall, no issues here, although a bit more knee room sure would be nice. This chair here is adjusted where I was comfortable, and as you can see, my knees are jammed right into the backrest. So plenty of headroom, not a whole lot of leg room. The cushions are nice, good height above the floor, plus we have cup holders and USB Type-C ports, so overall, not a bad place for adults if you slide these seats forward. The EV9 is expected to go on sale in the US in the fourth quarter of 2023, though at some point next year they will begin building these SUVs in West Point, Georgia, making it the first Kia electric vehicle to be assembled locally in America. Now that is all well and good, but you probably want to know about pricing, and I'll tell you, so do I. And unfortunately, Kia has not said anything about that, so stay tuned for more details. The iconic Jeep Wrangler SUV has been rather significantly updated for 2024, and this includes the electrified 4xe model, which just so happens to be the best-selling plug-in hybrid in America. So, what's new with the venerable Wrangler for 2024? Does it have independent suspension? Is there a hydrogen fuel cell under the hood? Did they make the body panels out of some biodegradable cardboard? Well, no to all of that. This is still the same rough and tumble Wrangler it has always been, but the vehicle does have updated styling, more technology, and enhanced safety. As you can see, the looks here are slightly different. The iconic 7-slot grille has been updated, and you can get different colors and finishes on this depending on the model. The new Wrangler is also available with 10 different wheel designs that span between 17 and 20 inches. And then, of course, this SUV can be had with a worn winch right from the factory. So if you get stuck out on the trail, you've got no one to blame but yourself. In fact, you could say you've been warned. Oh, that's funny. That's good. I'm going to write that down. Now, beyond that, plug-in hybrid Wranglers can also take advantage of the new Jeep 4xe power box. And basically, this is a separate accessory that plugs right into the vehicle's power port here, and that gives you 4 120-volt household plugs that put out up to 30 amps. And that should be perfect. If you're out camping on the trail, you can run all kinds of different appliances and accessories without having to bring a separate generator. So for 2024, there are 2 new trims. There's the Sport S 4xe and the Rubicon X, the latter of which is available with a gas engine or as a plug-in hybrid. And just as a refresher, the Wrangler's plug-in drivetrain is centered around a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. In total, you get 375 horsepower and 470 pound-feet of torque. Expect around 21 miles of electric-only range and 49 miles per gallon equivalent, or MPGE for short. The Jeep Wrangler received some significant interior upgrades for 2024. The outgoing model's cabin is quite nice, but they've really stepped up their game for the new model year. And the first thing you're probably going to notice is this lovely 12.3-inch landscape screen right on the dashboard that should be standard across the model range. And of course, it runs the Android-based Uconnect 5 infotainment system that is very easy to use and quite responsive. Beyond that, this system also supports wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, so there's no need to bring a cable along to access those features. Now, beyond that, there's also the Trails Off-Road Guide system that's designed to make it much easier to plan off-road excursions, and that will help get you access to some 62 Jeep Badge of Honor trails. In other news, the Wrangler is now available with front power seats. What an innovation. Welcome to the 21st century. Anyway, these should be very well waterproof, so if you are fording a river and things get a little bit wet, you shouldn't have to worry. Now, beyond that, they've also added pre-tensioners and load limiters to the outboard rear seat belts, and they've improved the structural integrity of this vehicle so it performs better in side impact crashes, which is very good news. Well, if you like what you see here, and it's hard not to, you should be able to pre-order a 2024 Jeep Wrangler starting right now. Unfortunately, pricing has not been announced, but I'm told this vehicle will start arriving at dealerships probably in the summertime. Disney is turning 100 this year, and to help celebrate the auspicious occasion, Hyundai has partnered with the entertainment company, the House of the Mouse, to introduce a concept vehicle here at the New York Auto Show. And I'll tell you, I haven't been this excited about a new car since the Chevy Venture Warner Brothers edition came out. And that was a long time ago, very long time ago. This is the Hyundai Ioniq 5 Disney 100 Platinum concept, and that name is quite a mouthful, but Hyundai took input from Disney Imagineers to help build this vehicle, which is sort of part of an integrated marketing campaign. Hyundai is also the sole automotive sponsor of Disney's 100th anniversary celebration. Anyway, this is mostly an appearance package. This is basically a Hyundai Ioniq 5, which of course is already one of my favorite EVs that is available today. But setting this particular one apart, you can see we have a lovely matte finish paint job, and they call this color Gravity Gold, though under this lighting it certainly looks more silver than it does gold. This concept, of course, has some special badging. You can see Disney 100 Platinum Edition right here on the fender. But moving rearward, let's check out the wheels. They say these are Disney inspired, and I don't know, I kinda sorta see a Mickey Mouse head there, but also not really. What do you think? Leave a comment down below. And then, of course, at the back of the vehicle, we have this sort of screen where the taillights would normally be. They have another one of these panels up at the front that can both play some special animations. Well, if you have made it this far, that means we didn't get a copyright strike from this Fantasia music that keeps playing. I tried to turn it down, but no luck. Anyway, inside this Disney concept, we will see the Disney 100 logo embossed on the headrests and on the center armrest here. Plus, they have the logo on the floor mats. If you look on the door panels, we see the Mickey Mouse motif that runs along here on the trim. This vehicle will also play a special animation when you get inside and start it up to remind you that it's tied with Disney. But then my favorite feature is probably this sort of pixie dust effect that they've etched into the roof glass. I think it looks pretty nice, actually. Believe it or not, the Hyundai Ioniq 5 Disney 100 Platinum is more than just a concept. This will actually be a limited production vehicle, though details about pricing and availability won't be released until later this year. This is it, the production version of the Ram 1500 REV electric truck, and I have all of the important specs you need to know. Ram's battery-powered pickup has got to be the biggest reveal at this year's New York Auto Show. Big for several important reasons, and for starters, this is a full-size truck, so it's already pretty huge, but this thing promises class-leading range, performance, and capability. Let's take a closer look. The 2025 Ram 1500 REV's headline feature is that they are projecting it will have 500 miles of range on a charge. That's more than a GMC Hummer EV pickup, more than a Ford F-150 Lightning, and of course more than a Rivian R1T. And that 500 miles of range is delivered courtesy of a gargantuan 229 kilowatt hour battery pack. Absolutely huge. Now, a smaller pack will also be offered, about 168 kilowatt hours, and that should get you about 350 miles on a single charge. Now, just for context, the Ford F-150 Lightning's upscale battery, the larger one, is only 131 kilowatt hours of usable capacity, so considerably smaller than what they're offering in this new Ram right here. Now, both of those batteries in the Ram do feature an 800-volt electrical architecture, so they should be able to charge at up to 350 kilowatts, and the company says that will get you 110 miles of range in about 10 minutes. The Ram 1500 REV also features vehicle-to-vehicle, vehicle-to-home, and vehicle-to-grid bi-directional charging. So this truck can actually juice up other EVs, it can run your home in a blackout, or it can send power back into the broader electrical grid, which is pretty cool stuff. Now, this truck also comes with a 7.2 kilowatt power panel in the bed, so you can run a variety of appliances or accessories. You can also get a 3.6 kilowatt power panel in the front trunk. And by the way, Ram says this should be the largest frunk in the segment, clocking in at 15 cubic feet. This pickup is built on the Stella frame architecture, which is made of high-strength steel, so the Ram 1500 REV should have a rock-solid backbone. Now, the frame rails on this platform have actually been pushed outward to help accommodate those massive battery packs I mentioned just a little bit ago. This truck will also have a multi-link rear suspension system, which is great for ride and handling, plus it should come standard with four-corner air suspension. When it comes to performance, the Ram 1500 REV will offer plenty. This truck is going to come with dual 250 kilowatt drive units, which combine the motor, inverter, and gear train into one assembly. But what does that mean? Well, how about 654 horsepower and 620 pound-feet of torque, which is enough to get you from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 4.4 seconds. Super quick. Now, beyond that, in the coming years, Ram will also offer a Ram 1500 REV XR model, which should have some sort of combustion engine that will work as a range extender, and Ram says that version of this pickup will offer class-shattering range, whatever that means. Capability does not disappoint either. The Ram 1500 REV will have a maximum tow rating of 14,000 pounds. Its payload tops out at 2,700 pounds, and this thing should be able to drive through 24 inches of water. The 2025 Ram REV will be offered in 5 different trim levels, and let's see if I can remember them all. There's Tradesman, Bighorn / Lone Star, Laramie Limited, and then Tungsten, which is the new top offering. And with that grade, you get a suede headliner, 24-way power adjustable front seats, unique knurled accents in the cabin, and even a premium Klipsch audio system with 23 speakers, including a 12-inch subwoofer. As for tech, there are tons of screens in this pickup truck. You get a Uconnect 5 infotainment system front and center with either a 12 or a 14.5-inch touchscreen. There's a 12.3-inch digital instrument cluster. You can get a 10.25-inch screen on the passenger side of the dashboard. There's a head-up display and even a digital instrument cluster. No shortage of displays in this pickup truck. Now, beyond all of that, it will also offer hands-free active driving assist, which sounds like it should work like Super Cruise or Blue Cruise on the highway. Plus, this pickup also offers automated parking functionality. So, there's a lot to love about the 2025 Ram 1500 REV. The range, acceleration, towing, luxury amenities, and more are all fantastic. But now for a bit of bad news. This truck probably is not going to be cheap, and it isn't slated to go on sale until the fourth quarter of next year. That is a long wait, and obviously a lot can change between now and then, so this pickup may end up losing some of its advantages. This right here is a Mustang Mach-E Rally, an enhanced version of Ford's all-electric SUV, one that is actually designed to go off-road. And proving that point, one of these vehicles actually just competed in the arduous Rebel Rally, an all-women off-road competition in the deserts of California and Nevada. And this thing has a lot of great upgrades to make that possible. The Mach-E Rally is Ford's first rally-inspired EV, a shocker based on this vehicle's name, I know, but here's what that gets you. So the body has been lifted by 20 millimeters compared to conventional Mach-E GTs. You also get unique suspension tuning as well as Magna Ride shock absorbers for stiffness if you need it and softness when you want it. Beyond that, Mach-E Rallies have unique 19-inch wheels finished with a white paint job, which I think looks actually pretty fantastic on this car. They're also wrapped in Michelin tires with a fairly knobby tread pattern for enhanced traction on loose surfaces. And then beyond that, they've also added additional underbody shielding to the Rally model to help protect the electric motors from damage if you're going off-road. I'm not an engineer, but I really don't think you want to end up puncturing the battery pack or damaging one of those motors. I think that would be a bad day. Speaking of electric motors, those dynamos should provide an estimated 480 horsepower along with at least 650 pound-feet of torque for, I'm sure, very strong acceleration. As for the battery pack, it clocks in at 91 kilowatt hours. That's 91 kilowatt hours of usable capacity. And Ford is targeting around 250 miles of range with this vehicle, which isn't too bad considering all of the upgrades that it has. As for DC fast charging, expect this thing to go from 10 to 80% in around 37 minutes. But next up, we will highlight some of the visual enhancements that were made to this EV. But first, a word from Emporia, the folks sponsoring our LA Auto Show coverage. Installing an EV charger can cost thousands of dollars if you need to upgrade your electrical service. But the EV charger with load management from Emporia eliminates this pricey pain point. You see, the system includes the View Energy Monitor that mounts inside your electrical panel and intelligently tracks how much power you're using. And then this setup can adjust how much juice your Emporia charger draws so you never exceed your electrical panel's rating, even if your oven, water heater, and air conditioner are all running at the same time. And this is super clever because it allows you to charge an EV at home without having to upgrade your electrical service. Now, the View Energy Monitor also lets you keep tabs on up to 16 separate circuits, allowing you to track energy consumption 24/7 from a simple smartphone app. Save 5% on that, the EV charger with load management, or Emporia's other products. Or to simply learn more, scan the on-screen QR code or hit the special link in the description box below. So, from a design perspective, what sets the Rally model apart from less adventurous Mach-E's? Well, there are a few changes up front. We can see the grille is different and it is punctuated by Rally-inspired fog lights. There's also a unique splitter. You get a front recovery point with a hook, so if you do go a little bit too crazy off-road and you end up in the ditch, you should be able to pull the Mach-E Rally out fairly easily. There's also a steel roof on this car opposed to glass. It's painted black. You can optionally fit this thing with mud flaps. And then, of course, at the very rear is a Ford Focus RS inspired spoiler. So aside from all of that, the Mach-E Rally's interior received a little bit of love as well, though probably not as much as the outside of this vehicle. Up on the dashboard we can see there's unique trim, plus we have white accents on the steering wheel as well as the seat backrest, and Mach-E Rally has been embossed into the leather on the backrest as well. Beyond that, you get a special rally driving mode that does allow for more yaw on loose surfaces, which is always a lot of fun. Beyond that, the damping has been made stiffer and they made the throttle response more linear. And finally, this vehicle is also available with Blue Cruise, which is Ford's fantastic cruise control system that of course offers hands-free capability on highways. It doesn't work off-road, at least not yet. Tested in the southwestern desert during the grueling Rebelle Rally, the Ford Mustang Mach-E Rally should be ready for your next adventure, be it on-road or even off. And of course, if you like what you see here, you should be able to purchase one of these all-electric SUVs starting early next year, though unfortunately pricing has not been announced at this time. Lucid unveiled something big here at the Los Angeles Auto Show. Literally, meet the new Gravity. It's a sleek-looking, all-electric SUV with big efficiency, big range, and big comfort in all 3 rows of seats. And yes, you heard me correctly, this thing has got a 3rd row. The Gravity is supposedly built on a new vehicle architecture, and of course this provides numerous benefits. The vehicle does have room for 7 people. There are sliding 2nd row seats with fold-down tray tables, which I absolutely love. And then Lucid also says that the 3rd row is adult-friendly, so adult-sized passengers should be able to sit back there and be quite comfortable. However, we're not allowed to get inside the vehicle, so I can't tell you how comfortable it is or isn't. There should also be plenty of space for luggage in this vehicle as well, all in a package that isn't absolutely gargantuan. The 2nd and 3rd row seats do fold down so you can carry longer items, and of course there's even a front trunk. But I'll tell you, the Gravity's interior isn't just spacious, it's beautiful as well. The overall design is very clean and elegant. The materials are of high quality. And then of course the dashboard is dominated by a 34-inch curved OLED display. As for the exterior styling, the Gravity here kind of resembles a pumped-up Lucid Air sedan, and that is definitely not a bad thing. This SUV is very clean, very slippery, and I think very attractive, even if the roofline kind of sort of resembles what you get on a Chrysler Pacifica minivan. But now for the main event, some technical details about the Gravity. Lucid is promising massive range for this vehicle. They're projecting more than 440 miles on a full charge, which is absolutely insane for an EV of this size and with 3 rows of seats. Now, helping deliver that impressive range is very efficient powertrain engineering as well as a slippery body. They're projecting the coefficient of drag is going to be around 0.24, which is fantastic, again, for a vehicle of this size. Now, I can't tell you too much about the battery pack, but it does have a 900-volt architecture that should allow this vehicle to absorb up to 200 miles of range in just 15 minutes. But what about the performance? Well, I'm glad I asked, because the Gravity should be able to go from 0 to 60 in less than 3.5 seconds. Its payload rating is 1,500 pounds, and you should be able to tow up to 6,000 pounds with this SUV, which of course will also be offered with an available air suspension system for a smooth and well-controlled ride. When it comes to availability, the new Lucid Gravity is expected to go on sale in late 2024, in roughly about a year. Now, of course, a lot could change between now and then, but the company says this vehicle should start at about $80,000, which is expensive, but also not totally outrageous for a large 3-row SUV. EVs don't have to be boring. I mean, they certainly can be, but they don't have to be, which is something the 2025 Hyundai Ioniq 5N proves. Making its North American debut here in Los Angeles, this high-performance hatchback is Hyundai's very first N-branded EV. It's also got up to 641 horsepower, and this thing can hit 60 miles per hour in significantly less than 4 seconds. But I'll tell you, there's a lot more to this car than just performance. Starting on the outside, you can see this is not your run-of-the-mill Ioniq 5. Up front, we can see there are lots of black accents, plus some vibrant orange to really liven things up. They've also changed the face of this vehicle to help improve cooling because, again, it is a very high-performance car. Then along the side, we've got forged 21-inch wheels wrapped in sticky Pirelli tires. There's also a unique spoiler at the back. Now, of course, this car does have a few dimensional changes as well. It sits about 0.79 inches closer to the ground. It's roughly 2 inches wider at the base to accommodate those fat tires. And then the overall length has been extended by roughly 3.2 inches thanks to the rear diffuser. This vehicle has a dual motor all-wheel drive powertrain, but more on that in just a minute. Of course, driving fun is the focus of the Hyundai Ioniq 5N, and to deliver that, you need a very strong foundation, so engineers have strengthened the body of this vehicle by adding some 42 additional weld points, as well as 7 additional feet of structural adhesive. Now, beyond that, they've also reinforced the battery and motor mounting points, plus they've strengthened the steering system and even retuned it. Helping you stay in control, this car has Hyundai's most powerful braking system ever. Up front, you'll find 15.75-inch front rotors that are clamped by beefy 4-piston calipers. And then, of course, at the rear, we have 14.2-inch discs, again, to help eliminate speed when you're driving in anger. Now, beyond all of that, the Ioniq 5N also has something called N-Brake Regen, which is a track-tested feature that provides up to 0.6 Gs of deceleration, so it can really help slow the car down. It will preserve the friction brakes when you're driving on track, and of course, it helps put a lot more power back into the battery. When it comes to driving fun, this Ioniq 5N should not disappoint. When the boost mode is engaged, which will last for 10 seconds, it gets you up to 641 horsepower, which is enough to move you from 0 to 60 miles per hour in an oddly specific 3.25 seconds. But regardless, that's practically warp drive. As for the top speed, VMAX here should be 162 miles per hour. Now, unlike Hyundai's other eGMP-based vehicles, you actually get a larger battery pack in this one. It clocks in at 84 kilowatt hours, and it should DC fast charge at up to 238 kilowatts, which is enough to get you from 10 to 80% in a lickety-split 18 minutes. Helping enhance the drive, this car has a whole bunch of N-branded performance features, and one of those is, of course, N launch control to help you get off the line as quickly as possible. The other I want to talk about is called N drift optimizer with a torque kick function, which should help this vehicle get sideways quite easily. Now, beyond that, this thing has a couple other very unique features. The N E-Shift will simulate an 8-speed dual-clutch automatic transmission by actually mimicking gear changes. And then, of course, this car also has the N Active Sound Plus system that will basically mimic an internal combustion engine and play those sounds through the car's 10 different speakers. 8 of them are inside and 2 are on the outside. Inside, of course, we have a few changes to this car's cabin, though there are no real surprises. The center console has been redesigned, and it's got padding on either side, so you can brace yourself against that when you are driving out on a track. There's tons of N-branded stuff in this interior, and then, of course, the seats are unique. They're mounted much lower, and they are far more aggressively bolstered. And I'll tell you, if you're much larger than me, you probably won't be comfortable in these buckets. I'll tell you, the 2025 Hyundai Ioniq 5N shows enormous promise, and I cannot wait to get behind the wheel of one of these high-performance hatchbacks. However, we don't have all the information about this car just yet. I still want to know what the range is, and of course, how much it's going to cost. But you should be able to find these at Hyundai dealerships starting next March. Kia is making a big splash here at the 2023 Los Angeles Auto Show by introducing not one, but 2 different concept vehicles, and the little bundle of joy parked behind me is the new EV3. The EV3 is a compact, all-electric crossover, and as you can see, it's fairly boxy. Its styling was inspired by the much larger EV9 SUV, and looking at some of the details, we can see the front lighting signature, as well as the lighting signature at the rear, do resemble quite closely what you get on the EV9. Beyond all that, this vehicle has a fairly short hood and the C-pillar is disconnected, so to speak, which sort of makes it look like the roof is floating above the vehicle. As for the wheel arch trim, it is very angular for sort of an aggressive appearance, and I've got to say, if a wheel could ever be square, that is what they would look like. Very angular and I think pretty cool. So inside the Kia EV3 concept, its cabin is ultra modern and super clean with a very large display screen perched up on the dashboard. Additionally, they're making a big emphasis on using natural materials in this concept's interior. Of course, they've incorporated natural fibers into this vehicle's seats to make them thinner and lighter and, of course, improve cabin space. There's a 3D knit material that covers those seats as well. And then this next thing is super cool. They've actually relied on bioengineering for the center console. So this concept is still in its infancy, but basically they've incorporated mushroom mycelium, basically the roots of mushrooms, and they've used that on the center console. So perhaps in the future, someday we'll be able to grow car parts. What a crazy idea that is. So there's no word whether Kia is going to build the EV3 concept, though I've got to say it does look good here on the auto show floor. Nothing about this design study is completely outlandish that would really keep it from entering production, except perhaps for that mushroom-based trim. This right here is the Kia EV4, which is supposedly a fresh take on the venerable sedan form factor. Now, aside from expressive design, this car also has hand-woven fabrics inside and lots of natural materials. So the EV4 concept's body was supposedly inspired by race cars and sports cars, though honestly, I see a lot more Toyota Crown in this vehicle than anything that exciting. It's a little bit narrow and perhaps taller than it should be. But regardless, we have a fairly low nose on this design study, and like on other Kias, the headlamps have been pushed out to the far sides of the face of this concept vehicle. They've also extended the roofline and added a little spoiler at the back. Beyond that, I love the wheels on the EV4 with that big triangle in the middle. It's very distinctive and I think quite attractive. Just like the EV3 concept that was also unveiled here in Los Angeles, the EV4 has a very modern looking interior, one that incorporates lots of sustainable materials. It has recycled cotton, for instance, that's actually been hand woven to provide this sort of 3D look to certain elements inside the car. Beyond that, they're using natural dyes sourced from things like madder root and even walnut shells. Of course, there are other sustainable materials as well. They've actually incorporated hemp fibers into the center console. It's very easy to mold this material, and it should be quite strong. Additionally, one interesting element of the EV4 concept's cabin is the HVAC control panel, which actually stows away when you're not using it, which helps provide a very clean look for the interior. So what do you think about this car? Leave a comment down below. I'll tell you, the EV4 concept here is very unique, but I don't think it's quite as production ready as the EV3 concept that was also unveiled here in Los Angeles, though we'll have to wait and see whether Kia decides to introduce either of these vehicles. The Honda Prelude was one of the hottest vehicles unveiled at last month's Japan Mobility Show, and this design study is now making its North American debut right here in Los Angeles. Let's check this puppy out. Actually, the puppies are over there because the Subaru booth is behind the cameraman, but you get the point. We're gonna look at this thing. So if you're not in the know, the Prelude is a legendary Honda sports coupe. It was introduced in 1978 and built for 5 generations up until 2001. So yeah, it's been a little while since you've been able to purchase one of these cars new, but that will be changing. It's a bit of good news and bad news. We'll cover that in just a second. So the Prelude concept looks absolutely fantastic. This car is beautiful in photos and it's just as sexy in person. And as you can see, it wears a very clean and elegant design, which I'll be honest is kind of unusual for Japanese brands. Their vehicles tend to be quite expressive and adventurous, but that is not the case here with the Prelude concept. It's very sleek, and up front there's almost sort of a beak-like appearance to the bumper of this car that, to my eye at least, brings to mind the Prius, the new Prius, the one that looks good. And I think it looks very nice here in this application as well. Moving along the side, we've got 20-inch wheels, of course, rendered in black and wrapped in some sticky Continental tires that goes quite nicely with the lighter paint job. Further along the body side, we can see flush-mounted door handles, which of course is in vogue these days and better for aerodynamics. And I wish I could actually use those, but this car really doesn't have an interior, so I'm not allowed to open the doors, unfortunately. As for the rest of the flanks of this vehicle, again, very clean and elegant, not a whole lot going on, but again, I do think it looks absolutely fantastic. And then moving to the rear, a very subtle spoiler. Again, very clean, Honda spelled out in blocky letters right there. And of course, a lighting element that runs basically the width of the car. But what's under the hood? Well, it beats me because all that Honda has said is that the Prelude concept features a hybrid electric drivetrain. And that's all we know about what powers this design study. And we also have no idea where this vehicle will be sold. Honda does plan to build it, but I can't tell you if it will be offered in the US here. So if you do want to drive a new Prelude, reach out to Honda, contact your local dealer, write your congressperson and tell them, build the Prelude. And Honda can totally do it because they've already done it. In fact, they recently brought back another product from the dead. The new Moto Compacto is a folding, retro-inspired, all-electric scooter that I recently reviewed, so check out that feature by clicking right over here.